Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Today is July 9th, 2025, Provo City Planning Commission meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner South.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry. Okay, we'll do a roll call to start. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Daniel Gonzalez, no conflicts.
Herbie DeSoto, no conflicts.
Andrew South, no conflicts.
Ann Allen, no conflicts.
Melissa Kendall, no conflicts. And we have,
Jonathan Hill, no conflicts.
thank you, Jonathan. Okay, just a reminder of decorum. Although this is a public hearing, only the presenters and those invited by the commission may speak or ask questions unless otherwise invited by the chair. Please wait to speak until called on. When speaking, be sure to speak into the microphone so that the record is clear. Please state your name and city of residence for the record. Please limit side conversations as they interfere with the audio recording. If you have to have a side conversation, please step out of the chambers. Please do not attempt to interrupt or speak over others. Intimidating or threatening speech or behavior will not be tolerated at any time. Please refrain from clapping, cheering, booing, or otherwise disrupting during the hearing. We'll start with item number 1 on the agenda tonight. Eric Winters requests project plan approval for a 206-unit residential project with 18 townhomes and 188 apartments in the MDR zone located at 88 North Geneva Road, Fort Utah neighborhood. And Dustin Wright from the city will be presenting that.
All right, thank you very much. So this item here outlined is the project that we're looking at today. So it's frontage on Center Street and Geneva Road. Both of these are state roads and they're classified as arterial streets within our city. Our city engineers have reviewed the traffic study for this project and have found that it's able to maintain a acceptable level of service with this project. The proposed project that we're looking at today will encompass a portion of this site. So here's the zoning map that shows how the lot is kind of divided into the MDR, the medium density residential zone, and the SC1 commercial zone. And so the portion of MDR is what's being considered tonight. At a future time, they'll come forward with a project to develop the SC1 zone. So here's the overall site plan showing how this property would be developed. There's going to be 8 apartment buildings and 3 rows of townhomes. And like I mentioned, along Center Street, that area is showing the future retail spaces. That's just showing it for reference, but that's not, again, what we're considering today. For the site, they've provided the required number of parking spaces. That's 411 parking spaces. So that comes out to be about 2 parking spaces per unit that's being proposed. Here's the landscaping that would be provided on the site. Along the east side there's a requirement in our code when you're adjacent to residential on a multifamily project that you place a 10-foot landscape buffer area. So that's being provided there. There's also landscaping throughout the parking lot, except for in areas where they have covered parking. There's not going to be trees in those locations. So that's what we see there. And then here are some elevations of on the left are the townhomes, and on the right are the apartment buildings. There's going to be different colors, materials for a variety of the structures. Staff is recommending conditions that There's a final plat that's done to create the lots for this project and to separate it from the SC1 future development. And the other condition is that final CRC approval is given. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have for me.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
Um, Can you go over the parking situation and like, I know we got a letter about that. I just would like that to be addressed.
Yeah, so as far as parking goes, jump over there. So there are, like I mentioned, there's going to be 411 parking spaces. The code would require 407 parking spaces, so they have a few extra than the minimum required by code. And so that's broken out based off of number of 1-bedroom units, 2-bedroom units, things like that. So that's how we get to those numbers.
Will you remind me what those are for 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, etc.?
Yeah, for 1-bedroom, it's 1.5 parking stalls per unit. 2 and 3-bedroom is 2.25.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Hill.
Yeah, we also got a letter worried about the traffic on Center Street in Geneva there. Do you know how many trips we're expecting to come out of this development per day?
Yeah, we have David Day from Public Works here that could probably answer that better than I would be able to. So I can invite him up if that's all right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Day.
Yeah, David Day with Public Works. David Day with Public Works. With this many units, it'd probably be around 2,300, 2,400 cars a day. Probably peak hour is like the busiest time would be about 4 cars per minute. So what is that? Car every 15 seconds. So
This is trip generation, or this is on the street, like in
that
general?
would be for a whole day.
On
And then the peak
Center Street?
hour.
Okay, I just mean like, this is trip generation from this development or total
That's traffic impact from this
from
project.
this? Okay, just making
Yeah.
sure. I
Yeah,
understand.
from this project only. There is already a background volume more than that in this area.
Yeah, David, do you know where we're at and what the road capacity is?
We are well within the bounds of this road for capacity. I don't know the exact volume. I would think it's probably around 6,000 to 10,000 a day. Just, looking at it, we could look up the actual data for you, but I don't know that right offhand.
What is the capacity?
The capacity would be up around 30,000 a day, and so we're well below that.
30,000 on a 2-lane road?
Yeah. Now, that's the capacity if you have bumper to bumper cars going all day long. So we don't ever want it to get that high. So what you're seeing out right there right now would be similar to what you would see with this development. 2,300 cars. Probably wouldn't see a whole lot of change other than at the entrances and exits. So
Do we know, is the developer, when they do the commercial part, looking to widen that road at all and add more lanes, or is it going to stay 2 lanes?
Yeah, that's another issue with this that will have to be dealt with by the developer. Is this Center Street and Geneva Road are controlled by UDOT, and they'll expect certain things to be completed with the project. So what we've been told is they'll probably have to widen Center Street, and they'll also have to create a center turn median in the middle of the road. Other things like that. That's for the ability to have an access into your site. So for them to have that entrance there and over on Geneva Road, they'll have to do whatever UDOT requires of them.
Okay, thanks.
My question, sorry, my understanding from reading this is that it's already zoned for this. Is that right? Or are we changing the zoning?
This already has the MDR
So,
zoning, so you're just looking at the project plan.
okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we move on to the next item because we don't have anything to say about this.
Well, we'll proceed and let the applicant come up and public comment and all of that stuff first.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? For
Okay.
Mr. Day? Okay, thank you. Okay, we'd like to invite the applicant to come up. You have 15 minutes for a presentation. When your time is up, you'll hear a ding and the microphone will mute. And if we have questions, then we'll ask you at that point. Thank you.
Okay, I'll be brief. My name is Jeff Murdoch. I'm with Wasatch Residential Group. We're the developer here, and we plan on being the owner for a long period of time. It's worked out really well. I know the community and the city really want a grocery store here. Kroger unfortunately did not want to go here. This got rezoned to be multifamily and kind of a city center zone in the general plan. We feel like we're meeting exactly what the city envisioned with their general plan for this area. We're going to bring quality multifamily property. We're below the density that we could have gone. We're below the height that we could have gone. We're exceeding the parking expectation. And these rooftops are going to bring retail tenants that want to be in these retail buildings, which is exciting for the area as well. As you can see in the plan, we're providing awesome amenities. There's a pool, a full clubhouse with a fitness center. We're going to put a golf simulator in there. Pickleball court, there's a dog park, there's a dog wash station, and there's bike parking throughout. So it's fully amenitized. This is a community for families, working individuals on the west side that's fully amenitized where people are going to want to live. And us as the developer, we're different than a lot of other developers that want to build these projects, hold for 3 to 5 years and sell and get their money out and roll into something else. We are long-term holders. We build projects, we invest our own money into these projects, and we plan on owning it forever. And so we want to do a good job up front, and we want to build quality product and quality location where we can own it long-term, take care of it long-term. It'll be professionally managed with 4 to 6 full-time staff every day. So there will be office staff there as well as maintenance staff and groundskeepers that are keeping the site completely clean, managing parking, making sure that it's not a mess back there. It'll feel really good. We'll take care of it. And then the other thing we do as long-term holders is we reinvest a lot of money in the property every year. Hundreds of thousands of dollars go back into painting the exteriors when they get faded, making sure the roofs and the decks are in good repair, making sure the interior of the units have new carpet for the new tenant. So it's fully professionally managed. It's going to feel good. It's going to feel clean. We pride ourselves on that. And we're really excited. So we do, we've made sure that we meet the zone and kind of the city's vision for this site, and look forward to starting construction next month. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask real quick. So none of the units will be for sale?
No, they won't.
Okay.
Commissioner Hill, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Open up to public comment. When your time is up, you will hear a ding and the microphone will be muted. Each person may make one comment. If we have questions, we'll invite you to come back to the microphone at that time. This time is for comments only. If you have questions about the item, please speak with the staff privately. If there are any neighborhood district chairs present, they will have 3 minutes to comment, and we'll start with neighborhood district chairs. Do we have any here tonight? Okay, then we'll open comment to the public. You now have 2 minutes each to comment. Remember to state your name and your city of residence.
My name is Tanner Welton from Provo, Utah. We're actually the neighborhood just east of this neighborhood. And talking to just a few of the residents, the biggest concern we have is just the parking situation. My wife and I just moved to this neighborhood. It's roughly 80 years old, never had an HOA. And we just came from Vineyard before this. So there's a little bit of scar tissue there with the parking situation. Vineyard, even with these sorts of developments, I believe planned for similar parking ratios, I guess. And the reality that we've seen living there is that young professionals and students tend to come live there, and they all have a car per room. And so our concern is just our neighborhood being right next to it seems like a natural overflow for this complex. And our concern at the moment is we don't have an HOA. That's the only way we could think of kind of defending against this if it were to become a problem. So that's our concern. Not sure what the solution could be there. It almost seems like any parking that's been planned for in Provo or Orem or, Vineyard, all these high density young people areas, they just will be filled regardless of what the ratios are. So yeah, that's it.
I'm Brooke Welton. I am his wife, and we did just move in there. In addition to I've lived in complexes like this in Provo, in Lehigh, and in Vineyard. And it has been a problem in every single one. And there's just constant praying of tow trucks going around. And the recommended amount of parking spots for complexes like these are not sufficient. They don't take into account the amount of young individuals, unmarried individuals that come here and have one person rent out each room. And with the way the bus routes are in Provo, there's not a way for them to not have a car. They need to have a car. Each person in that unit needs to have a car. And these are always planned for young families. So there's 2 spots per unit about. But with 2 major universities within 15 minutes of this complex, it will be filled by people in that age group. That's happened in every single one I've lived in. It's been majority younger people who are unmarried, young professional students. And so putting one parking space per bedroom doesn't even take into account the amount of visitor parking that usually goes into play. I honestly believe that 1 per bedroom is kind of a minimum requirement to not flood our neighborhood with cars and to not allow me to park in front of my own house. And so that is my statement, unless anyone has anything to say. Great, thank you.
Hi, N Geneva Road, Provo South. Question, when you said construction begins, this is already an approved plan because it's not a rezone?
This is the project plan because the property's already been zoned. Once they receive approval on this, if they get approval on this, they then have to apply for building permits for all of these.
It's an interesting look at it as if we say that we have only a small percentage of for sale units and everything is apartments. I'm hoping the development of like Joaquin and behind Academy turns into the student housing that we're fighting with, right? People renting out one and having a billion cars. I love the location of this. The bike trail is right behind next to Provo River Delta. It's really, really beautiful. I think that could really be utilized for maybe adding more for sale units to the property and really catering to what the council's goal is, kind of what Provo's goal is, and letting those single apartments kind of stay closer to the downtown area. But I love the location. I think it could be utilized for a lot of alternate transit. I know there's a great bus route. I agree with that. But hopefully in the future, the bike access is beautiful.
Okay, anybody else? All right, we'll close public comment.
Madam
So-
Chair, if I could
Yes, go ahead.
address some of those concerns.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So the concerns raised are certainly legitimate, and they're concerns that we've faced in impacts that we have faced in other areas of the city and in other projects. What we have found in projects like this that are owned by one entity and are managed by one entity, we tend not to have the over occupancy problems that cause the parking problems that the people are most concerned about. A good example is the project at the old Shopko Shopping Center on the Diagonal. When they first opened, they overoccupied. They rented to too many students per unit. As soon as we became aware of that, we reached out to the management company. We made them aware that they were violating zoning by renting to single students the way they were, and they corrected the situation immediately. They immediately moved 3 students into another unit so that they weren't in violation of city zoning. In projects like this, with our parking ratios we have, with management like that, we haven't seen spillover parking. Now, projects where the planning commission has given reductions in parking, and some of those we have. This isn't asking for any reduction in the parking. This property was pre-zoned the way that it is now in order to help encourage a grocery store on the west side. Ironically enough, once we rezoned this to MDR and commercial out front, that actually brought Kroger back to the table at the city to take another look at putting a grocery store here. We spent 2 years working with them trying to get a grocery store here. The city threw $1 million at that. The Parks Department was willing to adjust the property line between this property and the park just to help make a grocery store happen. And it didn't work. Kroger finally gave up trying and put the property up for sale. Now, Mr. Cox is in the room, and he's one of the property owners, and he's been very involved in all of these negotiations with Smith. So he could verify the things I've said or might want to add to something I've said. But the city tried very hard to get a grocery store here. I understand the fears that our neighbors are feeling about this. I agree that this property should not impact parking on your street. I would be very surprised if it does. If it does, there are things the city can do to address that. But as it stands, it does exceed our zoning requirements in some areas and then doesn't even try to get maximums in other areas, as the applicant said.
Thank you. Okay, commissioners, let's discuss.
I think this seems like it seems really nice. I do think it's interesting, and I feel like it'd be good for the public to know. One of the things that Development Services always says, they need a certain number of rooftops to have a grocery store. So like this would help get those rooftops so that there'd be enough people for a business to stay afloat. So, I mean, that's the thing about more dense housing. It does support more business. So I like that there are so many amenities. I also agree that the bike paths or the bike connections are really have a lot of potential. I would like to see that maybe encouraged, maybe some cooperation with the city to connect all of this to the bike path, to the Provo River Trail. I just think it's like the easier you can make it, the more people will use that as a transit option. And I do think that the Provo River Trail has huge potential to actually solve transit issues. I would rather ride my bike, and if it was safe and there was something like the Provo River Trail everywhere, or most places I need to go, I would ride my bike everywhere. Yeah, I think the only issue I really have is not having like any for sale at all. Even though there are some townhomes, and I think that's too bad, because I do think that's an opportunity that is missing.
Bill, following up on that, the city's gone back and forth on selling requirements, et cetera, like that. Do you know where we're at the moment?
What requirements?
About selling homes so that we can increase the percentage of owned versus rented units in the city.
Like what percentages we're aiming at? Is that what you mean, Jonathan?
Yeah, I
So
know
on-
the city at one point was talking about requiring builders to sell some of the units, et cetera. I don't know where that's at the moment.
So the city council has been pushing for sale units on zone changes. On property that's already zoned, we would have to amend the zoning ordinance and put into the zoning ordinance that some percentage is required. The staff has been hesitant to make such a code amendment as that, but the city council has been getting for sale units on zone changes.
Great. That makes sense.
Also, forgot to point out, one reason why they're having the parking problems in Vineyard that we referred to is that the other edge of that sword that Jonathan is referring to, the other side of that debate, is that when you put the properties up for sale, like they have largely done in Vineyard, you have individual buyers who buy those and then they over-occupy them. And when individuals own them and occupy like that, it's so much harder to do enforcement because you're dealing with 200 or 300 owners instead of one owner. And so that's led to a lot of the over occupancy and then the over parking issues that they're experiencing in Vineyard.
So can you tell us what is the max that could occupy each unit? The max number of people? I mean, a family, obviously, but
So
singles.
a family includes three. But we found it very unusual to have more than two that aren't married living in a one-bedroom unit, right?
Right.
Yeah, we just haven't found that we have a parking deficit with this designer project with the parking ratio that we have in our ordinance.
Do we have an example of that in the city that we can already see?
Which projects for full parking? So the one by the stadium is student housing. That's full parking, but that's student housing, so that doesn't compare to this. I'm trying to think of other projects that are full parking. Can you think of any, Dustin, that have met full parking? 400 Element was full parking, so that's down on 400 South.
And we haven't had parking issues there.
No, we haven't. The townhouses at the end of 500 West, but they exceeded our parking ratio. Haven't experienced any parking problems there. The Ryan Smith project isn't fully occupied yet. That's in the river bottoms.
And you said if there were a problem, the city, you have some solutions. What, can you give us examples of some of the solutions the city can use?
Yeah, so if these people start parking in the subdivision to the east, I would suggest to them that they allow the city to put parking regulations on their street that would allow parking enforcement to go in there between certain hours and ticket cars on the street. There are different ways to do that. So,
Okay, if you,
yes.
sorry,
Right.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, any other solutions that you can think of? Just working with the owner, right?
Yeah, that's the first thing we would do.
That's the first thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Gonzalez? Soto? Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the requested project plan for the new 206 residential project with the following conditions. The final plat is approved and the remaining CRC comments are addressed. And approvals received.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, now let's discuss for just a minute. So I just have a few thoughts. My biggest concerns were the parking, number one, and like you shared, that none are for sale. But having heard that if they're for sale, we tend to have more parking issues. I think in this location, this probably is the right thing. I do like that they're below the density and the height and that they're within the parking limits that the city has already set, and that we don't seem to have parking issues in other parts of the city in projects, especially projects that are all owned by one owner. And it's already been zoned for this, so I feel like, this is a good option for what's already been zoned, so. All right, anybody else want to make any comments? Okay, let's take a vote.
Aye.
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 Mr. Hill?
I'll vote aye.
And I'll vote aye. So the vote is unanimous. We'll move on to item number 2. Terry Cirac requests concept plan approval for a 5-unit apartment building in a proposed CR zone located at 71 West, 880 North, North Park neighborhood. And Mr. Wright will be presenting that one as well.
Can we read in item 3 with that since they go together?
We sure can. Item 3, Terry Cirac requests a zone map amendment from the RC Conservation Zone to the CR Campus Residential Zone in order to develop a 5-unit apartment building located at 71 West, 880 North, North Park neighborhood.
All right, thank you. So here's the site for items 2 and 3. The original concept on this one, when we sent out notices, was for 8 units. But to be able to meet the requirements for the zone that they're requesting, that's been reduced down to 5 units. And that's for the campus residential zone. So here you can see the current zoning map on the property. So it's currently zoned as residential conservation, or RC. The zone that they're requesting is similar to the one directly south of that, the CR, the campus residential zone. The property's got RC zone on all the other sides of it. And so currently it's a single family structure on that property. And then as you can see, it's surrounded by multifamily housing. And so the RC zone doesn't allow new units. And so that's why they're coming forward with a rezone request to change that zone to allow them to get to that 5 units. The general plan here in this area is designated as residential. So the campus residential zone would fit within the designation of the general plan. They've provided the concept plan to show how this property could be developed if it were rezoned. They're looking to do the 5-unit apartments with 3 1-bedroom units and 2 2-bedroom units. The parking would be located underneath and behind the structure, and it would be surrounded by landscaping. And here are some renderings of what that would look like. So it's a 2-story structure. You can see the parking tucked underneath and back behind. And from the street, it would, have access to that first unit and then be able to get to the other units behind. So that's what's being requested on this property. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Help me understand that. So this is a single family home, but on the lot, there's, by my count, 17 stalls for that lot currently, presently.
Yeah, so
just
maybe the
walk me through
applicant knows more of why they've done that. I think they own an adjacent property, and so they're just utilizing that space to have more parking, but they could probably speak to that more. But yeah, that's something I've noticed as well, but it isn't a requirement in a single family. I think they've just probably done that for other purposes.
And which is the adjacent property, the Royal Oak Apartments, to the I guess east or west? The lot west.
I think they might own one that's kind of kitty corner to the south east, but the applicant is here that could answer that better.
All right, I'll let them answer.
That was my question as well, Danny. If those stalls are being used to give a certain amount of parking for another structure, just is there a way? Do we know if that's the case?
Yeah, and I think I think my question, what I'm getting at is like you have a single family home with X amount of parking, and then you have, we're gonna up zone this to a 5 unit, is it a 5 unit multifamily?
Yeah.
With 10 stalls?
If you allow
What
me,
was it?
I can
Yeah, go ahead,
address the
Yes.
questions regarding that,
Thank-
that extra parking. So, Mr. Cirac does own that property to the southeast right there, the large rooftop there.
Okay,
That was built years ago. And the parking that is on the subject site wasn't a part of that. So that was built under a certain standard. They had the parking required, to get that approved. And they, even though they may be using extra stalls on this site, they aren't a requirement for the original apartment building to the southeast. So they wouldn't be reducing any required parking. Does that answer that question, concern?
yeah, well, answers the question for sure. I don't know the concern.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
can I ask a question? What would be the max occupancy of each unit? Again, 3 individuals, correct?
Yeah, family occupancy is a family or 3 singles.
Right. But even in a 1 bedroom, technically, you could do 3. Any other questions for Mr. Wright? Okay.
I'm just really confused about how this is laid out, but I guess I'll keep trying to understand.
Okay, thanks. Okay, let's bring up the applicant. You'll have 15 minutes for your presentation. When your time is up, you'll hear the ding and the microphone will be muted, and then we'll ask you questions when you're done. Thanks.
My name is Terry Cirac, and we also have Ken Harris. He's the architect for the project, if you have any questions for him. And so we're surrounded by apartment complexes on all sides, and the Mittlers just received approval about a year ago to convert their project to an RC zone. We're 1 block away from BYU, and also hopefully 1 block away from the new medical center. I don't know if that's been said yet, but so we do have a lot of, we anticipate this to either be medical students or also BYU students. And currently I do own the complex, the cottages right there. And so we have management on site. We have an on-site manager that lives there full time. And we're looking to upgrade the single family dwelling. When I purchased it, it was in disarray and it was in court proceedings, and we took out over 8 40-yard containers of trees and debris and cleaned up the property. And so we're looking to do approval. Originally we had 8 units planned, and then in working with Dustin, we got it down to 5 units to be able to develop in that area. So again, we're surrounded by apartments on all sides, and I think it will be an asset to, I think BYU is going to be getting a few more students here in the next few years. So I think it would be a benefit to us and also to the campus.
Thanks. Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, so in that current single family home, like what are the occupants of that? What's the number of occupants for that
We
single
just
family?
have 3 in there, 3 young ladies that are there.
Okay.
You want me to address why do I have all the parking stalls?
Yeah.
Well, in some wisdom from a state president, and I will not mention his name, decided to go ahead and have our girls in the same ward as College Park or College Place, which is pretty far away. And so we were having problems with parking, the guys parking in the law center, and they just couldn't find parking. And so we were just trying to clean up the site. We have all the parking we need for the cottages. Matter of fact, we have 2 or 3 stalls left over. And so we did it for our convenience. I thought I would need more parking, but we don't. And so, and we were also using it for, to just clean up the area and keep the weeds down. And keep it a little bit sterile. But if you go by there after the meeting today or later on, or even during the school, you'll see that half of this, they're not even utilized. If you go there now, you'll probably see 3-4 cars. I did rent it out to some at the Metler Manor. I've rented out a few stalls to them. So it takes them off the street and puts them over at our place. But that's a month-to-month arrangement.
And is each unit 1 bedroom?
No, we have 3 2-bedroom and then 2 1-bedroom.
Okay.
And so we did have 8, but we cut it down. And then we cut the parking down to 10 stalls. And so we meet the requirement for that. So if you have any questions
And you have a few extra spots.
I think we have 1.2. I don't know. But if we also have the architect here, if you have any questions for him too, or any questions for me.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Hill, you have any questions for the applicant?
I don't, thanks.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll now proceed with public comment. If there's any neighborhood or district chairs present, they'll have 3 minutes to comment. So come on up and you can start.
I'm Beth Hedengren. I'm the district chair for District 4, which is the district for North Park neighborhood. We had Mr. Cirac come to our meeting, our last neighborhood meeting, and he gave a good presentation, and we discussed it as a district, and we determined that this seemed like a very appropriate development for this area. The neighborhood chair for North Park gave me this statement. He can't be here tonight. He said there is a great demand for updated student housing in that area, and increasing that availability would be good for everyone. So that's my statement.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now open it up for public comment. If you would like to come and make a comment, you have 1 or 2 minutes each to comment. Remember to state your name and city of residence. Okay, seeing that there's no further public comment, we will close the public comment section and move to commission discussion. Any comments or discussion that you have?
It seems pretty straightforward to me. Great use of the space. Surrounding units are in the same, the same character. I have no problems.
Mr. Hill, any comments?
I would echo the same thing. It seems quite straightforward, matches the area really well. Definitely a constant need in the area. Kind of an inventive way to do it, to kind of, I don't know, almost have a floating building over the parking. But it's a good use of the space.
Thanks. Yeah, I really like the design as well. I think that's a good use of that land and looks great. So, okay. Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll motion that I'm trying to practice.
Shall we do 2 and 3 together or do them separately? Separate. Okay, so this is for item 2.
I'd like to motion that we approve the request for the concept plan for a 5-unit apartment building in the proposed CR zone. And I'd like to add the condition that the municipal council approves the CR rezone request.
Okay, anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Mr. South. Any discussion on the motion? All right, let's take a vote.
Aye.
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 And I'll vote aye, so that's unanimous. So item number 3, does anybody have any comments or concerns about item 3, or shall we make a motion for item 3?
I'll move that we forward a positive recommendation to the municipal council for the requested rezone from RC to CR for item 3.
And second?
I'll second.
Okay, thanks. Any discussion? Nope. All right, here comes the vote.
Aye.
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 And so that's unanimous again. Thank you. And we'll move on to item number 4. Nicole Anderson requests a concept plan approval for a new office building on an existing manufacturing site in a proposed light manufacturing zone located at 1400 South State Street, Spring Creek neighborhood. And Mr. Ardmore is going to be presenting that one.
Could you also read number 5? I'll present those together.
You bet. Number 5, Nicole Anderson requests a zone map amendment from the R110 one-family residential zone to the M1 light manufacturing zone in order to add a new office building to an existing manufacturing site at 1400 South State, Spring Creek neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. All right, so the property here on South State Street, what I've got up is just the aerial map to show what's on the ground there. The zoning map to show how the zoning has changed there over the years. You've got R110 still to the north and to the east from the action in 2017, as you read about in your staff reports. And then you've got the medium density residential beyond that, further to the north and just to the west and south for apartment projects that have come in since 2017. General plan here is residential. But again, this is an existing use that we're trying to keep going. So a little bit more history on that zoning. The 2016 zone map showed that entire area M1. As I hopefully illustrated in the staff report, the Southeast Neighborhoods Plan had some desires to get some housing between the rail and State Street to kind of reduce pressure on the single family neighborhoods to the east, and also to make sure that the city wasn't getting some kind of incongruent industrial uses along South State Street that weren't real desirable. But this product or this company has been there since the 1940s. They've been a good business for Provo City. So what they're trying to do now is just move back to the M1 zone so they can add to the office space that they have. So that's what it would look like in relation to the surrounding area. Here's a close-up of that. So the existing office space is right here. This would be the new building here that you see the elevations up there, the renderings for. They would be redoing the parking here, improving the landscaping around that. They'd be improving the frontage along State Street, which is a UDOT road. But we'd have our standard for the park strip and the sidewalk. And then they would continue to work with UDOT on whatever standards that are applicable to them today with those improvements. I believe, yeah, that's all I have prepared for my presentation, but I'll try to answer any questions if you have them.
That property, I'm curious about it. Is the back, or I call it the back portion, but the back half of the property, the western portion of the property, that's also
that's all Pro Steel. So that's their manufacturing.
That's their facility.
Yep, that's all their facility.
So we're just doing an office expansion to the
right on the
portion.
eastern edge of their large property. That's correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Ardmore? Okay,
thank you.
Thanks. Okay, do we have the applicant? You've got 15 minutes for a presentation. You'll hear the ding when your time's up.
Great, thanks. So like you said, Pro Steel's been
State your name.
Nicole Anderson.
Thanks.
Like you said, Pro Steel has been. Oh, this one? This one? Working? There we go. Great. Is that loud enough? Great. Okay. Pro Steel has been in Provo for almost 50 or a little over 50 years now, and has been manufacturing high quality gun safes and has a partnership with Browning. So they add a lot of value to Provo City. Like he said, the zoning was changed to residential not too long ago, but they've been in the same property for a long time. And they just want to expand their office space. They aren't planning on adding a ton more employees, like maybe one or two after the construction of their new office. It's mostly just to give more space for their existing employees. The main floor of the office is a big showroom that they can have a bunch of their safes so clients can come and see, as well as a conference room. And then there are 8 offices up in the second floor. So there's the floor plan and the second floor. And here are the elevations that we've drawn up. This is just a quick concept plan. We still need to get architectural drawings done. But this is kind of the style that they were liking. And then here is a quick site plan that he had shown earlier, showing where the new building would be in relation to everything else that is on the site. We're planning to add a lot more landscaping than what is currently there, so it'll be a lot more green and hopefully have a better view from the road. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, just curious about your. Do you find your current manufacturing facility sufficient for anticipated use,
I'll invite
future use?
the owner or somebody from Pro Steel to come and answer that.
Hi, my name is Greg Clements. I'm with the Pro Steel team. And your question was directed to the manufacturing facility, not necessarily the office building we're talking about. Yeah, from a manufacturing facility standpoint, what we currently have is adequate. In fact, we can probably even produce even more than we currently are with our manufacturing facility. Although we would love to try to even go after more market share. But I don't think we would have to really invest a lot in the manufacturing facility to even service more customers. Any other questions?
No, that's it. Just curious
Okay.
about capacity sufficiency.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Mr. Hill, do you have any questions or discussion on this?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay. Well, it looks good. I like that it is right in line with the property. Oh, we skipped. Does anyone from the public want to come up and speak? We'll turn it over to public comment now. Oh, go right ahead. You'll have 2 minutes. And you can state your name again. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tana, Provo South. I rode through this area because of that initial rezone to residential. Sorry, can you just talk a little more? It's a dream. It's a dream. So as far as riding through this area, the first thing I noticed was the bus stop. Is that what that is? Is the right next to it is the bus barn? And I honestly thought it looked so out of place with all the houses. So to kind of encourage that manufacturing building that, I think it would continue out of place and odd. Just with the residential that's popped up and that beautiful park that's in the area and everything. It's a very interesting area.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, so that will conclude the public comment section. All right. So this has been here for a very long time. And I do like that the new space is directly behind it. So it's just all in line. So I think this fits well and makes sense to allow this business to continue the way they are.
Yeah, I think it'll be nice to have a newer building with the landscaping, at least from the street, to kind of, I mean, they already are there, but yeah, to just keep it looking really nice. So I think this will be a nice addition.
Oh, I know there's a rezone from R110 to M1, and so I think there's some extra scrutiny on it. But when I look at this one, they're not intensifying their manufacturing capacity, and it sounds like there's sufficient manufacturing capacity for future growth. So I don't see, I don't see the negative effects of like intensified industrial use at this property for the foreseeable future. And so it's just like it's an office expansion, which is intended to facilitate more business. And so I feel comfortable with an office expansion, which does require a rezone.
But Danny,
Yeah.
to reinforce what you're saying, he's asking for offices in his manufacturing company that's been there for 50 years. This is not that, we're not deviating from the spirit of what
Oh, not at
has
all.
been there. So
Not at all. It's the conference room and a showroom and an office space to support the rest of the business. So I'm
seems
comfortable with it.
well within reasonable.
And I think it enhances State Street, which when they do this expansion, they will have to meet the new landscaping codes, and instead of being with the old, however long.
Right.
So it's an upgraded visual feature too.
Yeah, the frontage will be improved as well. Yeah. Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting kind of balance between existing owner versus what was kind of viewed as the future for this area. I wonder if staff can comment on why this was preemptively rezoned away from M1 instead of just putting it in the plan like we usually do and then waiting for someone to come and request that zone change.
So the council at the time, some of the reasoning behind that to R1, when staff was proposing MDR for this whole corridor, through the planning commission, that was reduced down to a recommendation of LDR. And then once it got to the city council, it was reduced down to a R110. To enable the city council at the time, they were concerned with seeing each project as it came through, rather than doing the pre-zoning where they wouldn't get their eyes on the individual projects.
So when was that? How long ago was that?
That was in 2017.
So not too long ago.
Not too.
I mean, I think it's interesting. In my opinion, I kind of lean towards they're the existing owners, right? We need to respect their plans and the fact that they've been there for 50 years, and it helps a lot that they're not intensifying their manufacturing. It's just basically beautifying the front, which is what everybody sees and should be a benefit to the neighborhood.
Okay, thanks. Anyone want to make a motion?
Oh, I'll say this too. If they did change the manufacturing capacity, I don't know if I'd necessarily be opposed to that either, because I imagine that it would be a total change of the facility. But yeah, I do. I admire their commitment to Provo.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we, you're supposed to help me with this, that the planning commission approve the proposed concept and that the planning commission recommends the approval of the proposed zone map amendment on item 3 and 4. We can't do them together.
One at a time. One at a time.
Okay, I would like to make a motion that the planning commission approve the proposed concept plan.
I'll second. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Aye.
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 Mr. Hill?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Okay, item 4 passes unanimously. Item 5. So this is the zone map amendment. And this one is a recommendation to the city council. I'm assuming there's no discussion on this one either, right? Okay.
I move that the planning commission make a recommendation that the planning approve. Oh, sorry. I move that the planning commission recommends the approval of the proposed zone map amendment to the city council.
And you want to read the top, just for the record, what the zone map amendment change is?
For item 5, the zone map amendment from R110, one family residential to the M1 light manufacturing. Thanks.
Anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second vote.
Aye.
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 And I'll vote aye. So item 5 passes unanimously. Okay, that is all the items on our agenda tonight. So do I have a motion to
Move to adjourn.
adjourn?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there
Aye.
something else?
Yeah, once you vote, I was going to have Sandy show you the aerial photo again,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Aye.
Aye.
This is a good example of the question you asked me on the first item on the agenda. That's an apartment building project there that is fully parked according to our code, and we haven't experienced spillover. Contrary to that, there's this project up here that was given a reduction based on a developer's 30-year experience with that product, and we have had spillover there. So
Just to clarify, I glanced over late. So north was got the reduction and spillover. South
Yeah, if you-
was fully parked, no problems.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.